there, and in this video we're gonna have a look at this magazine over here. The title is correct, White Dwarf, but I don't think this is the White Dwarf that you know. In fact, this is a White Dwarf from quite a while back. This one is from 1985, and I thought it would be really nice for us just have a flip through issue number 17, November 1985. So yeah, so let's have a look inside. Now, if you look at the cover, we'll actually see the cover again inside, but it's a very nice cover though. I think it's like maybe a knight, a cavalier, and what looks like maybe a barbarian sort of character. And it's really nice. It's nice design. It's got a lot of reds and yellows and a lot of blues behind. It's a very action packed. It's a cover that anticipates a lot of action, I suppose. Here we got some of the articles that you're going to see inside, but yeah, but we'll get to that in a bit. The cover is done by Alan Craddock. So yeah, so that's that. Now let's have a look here. Over here is an advertisement for the third Citadel Compendium. Now, if you do not know what it is, it's basically a compendium for, well, the Citadel range. Here we have the Games Workshop mail order. A lot of this may look extremely strange to you, but these were actually the games that Games Workshop was selling back in '85. So we have the Judge Dredd RPG. We got Warrior Knights, not just a one night stand. Aha! Then we got Railway Rivals, Golden Heroes, which is actually quite a popular RPG back in the mid 80s. Moving along, we've got quick subscription for the big three, the Warlock series, the White Dwarf. Right, so whenever I flip through magazines like this, or I just do a flip through, I usually try to find out whether any of these advertisers. Again, if you see any of my other magazine flip throughs, I totally appreciate people who buy advertising space in magazines because it helps pay the bills for the magazine. So the Guardroom apparently is not open anymore. It's closed. In fact, there is actually a nice little page for a nostalgia page for Guardroom, which I probably could post somewhere here, I guess. Now we have a look at the table of contents. Editor-in-chief is Ian Livingston. Yes, that even Ian Livingston, and assistant editor Ian Marsh. Yeah, let's flip. Now over here we got the first column. The column's called Critical Mass, and this one basically looks at fantasy and science fiction books. It's basically a review of all the books that came out during this time, and it's done by Dave Langford. Over here is Open Box, and Open Box, it says there's a science fiction and fantasy rulebook review. I've actually got some of this game books, which I suppose at some point I'll be reviewing. There's Paranoia. I really like Paranoia, and this is the scenario book of Paranoia. Mask of Nyarlathotep. This is a Chaosium book, and yeah, you got Train Locations. I actually owned the James Bond RPG. It didn't really resonate with me, but there was a time when we used to just collect RPG books. Next up, TM, an advert from TM Games. This one, they've actually became, they were actually previously Avalon Hill UK, and they became TM Games. Right. So this is the first big article. This one's called The Face of Chaos. Discussion of alignment in AD&D by Peter Vialis. Now, for a while, alignment was actually a thing people would actually spend a lot of evenings arguing over or chit-chatting over, simply because it's so integral to your character, but there's no stat for it. So it's very, very subjective. An alignment to one person is different to another, you know. So this article is actually really, really good. It's nice and meaty, and it covers a lot of interesting discussions, which actually, if you're a budding dungeon master, if you can get a hold of this article, it's really, really good. It's for AD&D though, but I think it can apply to most RPGs in the fantasy world. Next up, you've got Citadel Miniatures in collaboration with TSR. These I wish the pictures were much nicer though, but to be honest, this is what we had to go with. Really bad looking underexposed pictures of miniatures, and from this we chose what we wanted to get and what we wanted to buy. Next up we have Heroes Miniatures. Now Heroes Miniatures is uh, well, they make laser burn. So I actually have some laser burn figures, which at some point I'll probably feature. But Hero Miniatures was bought by Liberation Models, and then it was actually passed to RH Models. You got the Otherworld Artifacts, Space Oddity. Basically, they're all these little small traders who've actually like bought some advertising space in White Dwarf magazine. You definitely won't see this in today's White Dwarf for sure. Next up, we have Rune Rights. They say it's a bi-monthly column, but it's for a role-playing game called RuneQuest. I actually I think I played two RuneQuest sessions. They were quite long sessions, but I quite like the RuneQuest the world. But there was actually a very cliquish thing with RuneQuest. Like folks who like RuneQuest usually never played Dungeon Dragons, but yeah, there's an article for it which is fantastic. Next up is the Trud the Barbarian. Now, if you're of a certain vintage, you probably know Trud the Barbarian. He's legendary. There will be his strips used to be quite synonymous with White Dwarf. I'm so glad I'm able to show a very quick strip in this one. This is basically nice. It's basically Trud trying to do a passport picture, and him setting the frame up. Next up, Cults of the Dark Gods. This one is a Call of Cthulhu. I want to call it a resource. That's a great thing for me. That's a great thing about Call of Cthulhu. You've got books that just give resources. So source books are a bit different when it comes to Call of Cthulhu, because it's usually all of this information that you slowly, very, very smartly try to incorporate into your games. But this one has a look at the assassins and the Knight Templar and stuff like that. Then we have alchemy metalware. In the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, I knew a lot of folks who used to get a lot of alchemy jewelry. Alchemy, I think they had a t-shirt going on as well. This was actually essential for the metalhead or the gamer. Yeah, alchemy metalware. They're actually called Alchemy of England. I think some of these designs are not there anymore, but you can have a look. You never know. There might be something you like. Next up is Victorian Adventures. Now I'll talk about this very, very quick, simply because Victorian Adventure is actually done by Stephen Smith, and it's actually the first Victorian set role-playing game. I bet you didn't know that. Of course, this is the new cover with new artwork. I'll put out a picture of the old cover on the page right about now. Then you got some advertisement for Dungeons and Dragons. This is set for Master Rules. At some point, we'll be actually flipping through the original Dungeon and Dragon set, so stay tuned for that. Forbidden Gateway. These are game books. I used to be a big fan of game books, but I don't think I've ever played any of the Forbidden Gateway stuff. Then we got Denizen. Now, I had a look and I found out that Denizen is actually still around, and I'll put a link in the description. Even the figure that you see right here, you can still get it right now. So this is great. So a figure in a magazine from 1985 is still available. I think that's fantastic. Then you've got stuff like this, which is basically play by email, and actually play by email was a very, very big thing. What I really, really like about gamers in general is they find a way to game, whether it's play by mail, play by email, but they just find a way to game. And this is an advert for a play by email game, Explorers of Orion, it says. Next up, we have a Game Master publication. Now this apparently had a very, very short run, and this is actually an advert for issue number 1, which I thought I don't think I need to check, but I'm not so sure whether I've got any of the Game Master publication issues. If I do, I probably have one, and it's probably in bad condition, but I could look around and have a look and see whether I have any of these. Next up is The Lost Shrine of Kasar Khan. This is actually by Integrated Games. But as you can see here, it's distributed by Beast Enterprises. Yeah, this is actually a nice flash from the past. Yep. Next up, A Box of Old Bones. This is a level 1 and 2. Well, adventure for creators level 1 and 2, which I think which is great. And it's done by Dave Morris. The great bit about magazines like this is usually, you are a newbie, dungeon master, and you do not know the craft of dungeon building or adventuring. So magazines like this really, really help. And as you can probably see here, there's a lot of RPG stuff in the White Dwarf. And White Dwarf was actually the go-to spot for a lot of RPGing. So it's actually quite a nicely thought out campaign. A couple of pages worth, stats and everything like that. Then we have SDVM Games. I found out that SDVM Games is still around, but they are called Asmodee UK. Next up, Starbase, which is a bi-monthly column, I guess, for Traveller. Traveller is also another RPG which, folks used to play. Up the cover. The cover is some. I'll put the cover up on the page somewhere here. I used to know some folks who used to play Traveller. I think I've set in one game. Traveller. Here we have it's a comic strip. I guess it's a 1-page comic strip, and it's done by Mark Harrison. Mark Harrison later did some art and some comics for 2000 AD. So yeah, that's good. That's good pedigree right there. This is one full-page advert, so totally kudos to ICE or Iron Crown Enterprises for actually having a full-page Middle-earth advert. And now check this out. This is Games Workshop US, and apparently they're looking for orders. And if you look at it, there's things I need: Citadel Miniatures, Golden Heroes, Legacy of Week. This is what was popular at the time, and you don't see any Warhammer, you don't see any 40K. Of course, this was long before the game actually was a thing, but this is a look at what Games Workshop used to be. Greystar the Wizard. This is also another game book. Like I said, game books were really, really big, and I'm really glad that I think I've got a Greystar Wizard. I'm not so sure. I got to double check. Next up is we have an advert from Leisure Games. Now I was surprised to find that Leisure Games is actually still around. So yeah, that's fantastic, from 1985. So congratulations for that. Here's the letters page, which used to be a big thing for a lot of magazines. A lot of magazines love the letters page because it means that they get to talk to the people who are reading the magazine, and there's actually answers. There are questions and there's answers. Like, very nice letters page. I think with emails you don't get people publishing letters pages anymore. In fact, I would dread to think what letter pages would look like these days. But let me just say, but this is quite a thing. It's quite a good read as well. Next up, this is the Traveller Adventure, and I think this is done very, very nice. It's called Tower Trouble, and it's got nice little pieces of art. Thick filled with information from Dungeon Master. It's got like areas that you can actually like adventure in. It's the printouts of the or layouts of the tower, I guess. Now let's look at this. This page is a look at Queen Victoria and the Holy Grail. Back in the day, Golden Heroes was the go-to superhero RPG, and it's nice that there's an advert right there. Trail of the Loathsome Slime, Chaosium campaign. There you go. You got Play by Mail fantasy games, and you got different shops like Fantasy Games Shop Limited, and I think it's Kaider's Axe, Lester's Specialist. It's very, very nice to look at some old ads. So it's total appreciation. Monsters have feelings too. I love this article. In fact, we've actually had a game where we used this to great effect. We were adventuring in some ruins, and we came across a goblin, and the party went off and charged the goblin, killed it, and then we found later that the goblin was with another goblin who was hiding in part of the rocks, and they were actually well, nice goblins, or they were actually like on their own having a play around, and we killed his partner. I thought it was great because for all of us who are actually playing the game, from that gun ho, charge into battle, swords, waving. It became a quite emotional scene, funny, but also very emotional. Kudos to the GM for, I think it was Mark GM this game, for coming up with that nice emotional twist, I guess. Next up, just good fiends. What makes an interesting monster by Ian Marsh? This is also a resource for Dungeon Masters. It's in their section called Fiend Factory. It has really nice black and white art as well. Next up, we have adverts for the model shop at the Hobby Center. I'm not so sure whether this is around. I tried looking and I couldn't find it. Gauntlet Games, Ritz Toys, and Games World. All of these I tried to find whether they're still around, and I couldn't find anything. Next up, we've got a board game called Deflections. Again, I couldn't find a picture of the cover of the box to show you, but it looks interesting. It looks like a bit of a checkers, maybe a I don't know, strategy game of deflection, I guess. But I like the fact it's color, so they must have paid a lot of money for this to get a full page color advert in the magazine. Next up, Gamers in Exile. This company is actually out of business. Yeah, so that was quite. When I found out, I was like, oh, that's quite sad. But then again, most of these companies, I'm not so sure whether they're still around, and if they're still around, like leisure games would be great. But it's really sad when you find out a lot of these companies are no longer around. We have adverts from the Game Master, the Scotland's premier hobby store. I tried looking for them, couldn't find them either. Then we got the Midland Game Center. This, I think, it's like a location, a club, I guess. I'm not so sure. Cherries, Rainbow Games, and advert for them. So all these guys, I totally appreciate if actually put a little bit of money into the magazine by buying advertisement. Over here is the treasure chest. It says the treasure chest is a regular department for readers' ideas about AD&D games. So this is great. So this is basically readers sending in their ideas, and maybe readers' art as well. I'm not so sure. To help with or resource as a resource for AD&D. Yeah, magazines that print reader source material is fantastic. Some miniatures. And would you believe it? We got to like page 50 before we see some actual proper miniatures in color. And this was called Think Inc. Most of these figures are by Dixon Miniatures. I actually have this miniature. Maybe I'll feature them at some point. Also, of course, we have a Games Workshop figure in there. Some Winsor Newtons, inks. For a long time, in the early 90s, in fact, the late 80s as well, we were using Winsor Newtons because they were the inks of the time. The only inks we had they were actually called glazes and inks, but they were not as good as Winsor Newton. In fact, if you are painting now, Winsor Newton inks are still as good. Look at that. That's a Games Workshop competition, Traps of Terror. Again, would you believe Games Workshop has an RPG competition? I think that's fantastic. We got Gobbledygook, and this is by Bill Sedgwick. There's a lot of like a little nice like bits like this, little bits, one page comic strips, which I don't know, it gives a very nice feel to the magazine, I think. TTG Games. I bought a lot of stuff from TTG Games. In fact, I featured some armies that are from miniatures from TTG Games. They're not around anymore. Newsboard. And this is basically, news, yes, or big convention, stuff like that. And yeah, the White Dwarf sweater. It doesn't look good though, but I bet if you have one, it's quite the collector's item. Yeah, it's not very good though, but okay. This is the ads page. Now, for a long while, even for me, the best place for me to meet new people or to sell stuff was through magazines like this, or in Malaysia we had a local newspaper that did it. So ads are fantastic. It's actually quite integral. Ads were integral. You either found your gaming group through ads, you bought games from other people's pre-loved games here. You know, you put your miniatures and stuff that you don't want anymore for sale. It was actually quite a thing, and I like the fact that they leave phone numbers as well. Yeah, it's yeah, yeah, there should be a resource for ads like this somehow. I mean, this is, but I don't think there is. Next up, we have Capital, Britain's most advanced computer moderated play by mail. See, we've got a play by mail advert, and this one is uh well, it's computer moderated. KGC Games also does the Earthwood. You've got to pay some money, and you know, like it's play by mail. Dragon Warriors, and that we've got the cover of the magazine. It's from book one, Dragon Warriors. Yeah, on Corgi. I'm not so sure whether these are still in print anymore. More adverts, which is great. I like adverts. We've got, let's see now, role playing games in Bristol, so we get adverts for people in Bristol. Quest books, Torchlight. Now this one, I wanna very quickly talk about this bit. Actually, yeah, I want to talk about Dragon Roar for a bit, because Dragon Roar actually is the I don't know if you know this, but Dragon Roar is actually the first British major RPG. I mean, that's the claim they have, and I researched, and apparently it is Dragon Roar. So, yeah, so while the Americans had the Dungeon Dragon AD&D, the British had Dragon Roar. I didn't know that. Now you know that too. Next up, we got Virgin Game Center. Ah, we're serious about games. Yeah, I guess they were. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Unearthed Arcana. Yep, full color page. This is yeah. If you are playing Dungeons and Dragons, you can probably know when this magazine came out. Unearthed Arcana. We have the Warlord Game Shop. It's interesting because now there's actually a Warlord Games company. Yeah, no relation. I guess no relation at all. More independent people or shops putting up advertisements. It's the Sage, Crackers Game Shop, and Johto, John and Julie, Games and Puzzles, Stoppers of Chester. Yeah, mom and pop shops. Dixon Miniatures. As you can see, these are miniatures that are sold with just like sketches. So you're supposed to buy miniatures just from sketches. Yeah, I think I'll do a video on Dixon Miniatures at some point. Saturnalia, yeah, a British play by mail game. Now, if you played any of these games, do leave a comment in the comment section. I like to know if they were good, any good, because being in Malaysia, we never it's either we never knew this existed, or it was just too expensive to actually play these play by mail games. Essex, there you go, Essex Miniatures. Essex, Essex, yeah, great man, you guys. To put an advert in White Dwarf as well. I would never have put Essex and White Dwarf in the same page, but there you have it. Board game Star Search. I think that's what it's called. Star Search is the company board game. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. The Gameskeeper, Hobby Horse. You got games people play, Game Shop, Magic Mushroom Games, Medway Game Center, and we end with Talisman. This is the classic board game, which is actually a very, very good board game still. Maybe I'll do a review Talisman at some point. But yeah, look at the art. It's fantastic looking art. I like it. It's very classic fantasy. And we end off with Marvel Superheroes, the heroic role-playing game. Yeah, I'll probably review this as well at some point. By TSR. And that's Captain Britain. Captain Britain, now's your chance. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's White Dwarf. November 1985, issue number 71. It's very different from what you get now from White Dwarf. So I thought it'd be nice just to show you what White Dwarf used to be. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this magazine flip through. It was a trip down memory lane for me, and hope it was a trip down memory lane for you as well. If you like stuff like this, like, subscribe, and don't forget to enjoy painting those figures.